Hello and good morning. How's everybody doing today? This is Rich Harshaw, and we are here for our TMAC Tuesday morning ad clinic. And we have multiple submissions today. So I'm going to try to, well, I don't want to say I'm going to speed through them, but depending on the number of submissions, we have to shorten or lengthen the time for each one. I think we've got four submittors today, so we'll try to spend 15 or 20 minutes with each one of them. For the first one, we're going to go to Scone Business Group. Let me pull a little data about this one. Whoops, that was the wrong thing to push. Okay, Scott Newman, that's you. Okay, now Scott, I see you on the call here. However, I cannot unmute you because you have not entered your audio pin. So I'm going to, oh, there it is. Scott, you there?
Yep, can you hear me?
I can. Sorry, I didn't recognize the name Scone.
Oh, that's just the company that I guess I registered under. It's actually New Ridge Refinishing is the company.
Right, that's what I know you as. So, hey, no big deal. Doesn't really matter. I just didn't recognize it immediately. But, hey, good to have you on the call today.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Okay, so why don't you describe what it is we're going to look at here?
You got the, did you get the ads that I submitted?
Well, I've got, can you see what's on the screen now? I've got tile, stop replacing hardwood surfacing, and so forth. Is that it?
Yeah, that was one of them. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so here's what I want to know. What ad are we writing here? What's the situation? I've got some notes here, but why don't you just describe it to me quickly?
Okay, no, sure, no problem. So these are old ads how I used to use years and years ago, but now, as you know, I'm changing like the image of the business with the whole identity process and restructuring of the website and so forth. So I wanted to dig up these old ads because I actually still run them for SEO and marketing purpose to generate some leads on like Kijiji, which is basically like eBay classified in Canada, and Craigslist as well. So I currently use similar versions of, but more like I've taken away all the sales aspect and just made it as a menu style. This is what we do. If you're interested, contact us. So I thought, why don't I just tie it into the new identity and create a simple ad on a classified site that basically is doing what I'm going to be putting on the website instead of having it contradicting as if what it used to be as a full floor refinishing company. So that's what I want to do. I hope that makes sense.
Okay, so for instance, what's on the screen right now would appear as essentially a classified type ad. Is that correct?
Exactly, yeah. These were all strictly classified type ads. I gave you two of them. One was very basic with a bunch of different headlines, and then there's this one that was like trying to sell refinishing versus installation of new hardwood, as if some people wouldn't know it as an option. This is back in the early days. I've gone away from that. I haven't done it since, but I went through my ads recently and saw it and thought maybe it might be interesting to drum up some of the old ads and reconfigure it to the new way I'm doing business.
Okay, so just for my information, I see Kijiji. Is that similar to something like a Craigslist type scenario?
Yeah. It's I don't know if you're familiar. Like it's owned by eBay. In the U.S. they call it the eBay classified ads, and in Canada, it's they have this Kijiji. It's basically it's international, but this is our Craigslist because Craigslist hasn't taken off as much in Canada. But I think they changed their configuration. Their ads used to be submitted HTML, already done automatically, whereas Craigslist you had to plug in the code and everything for it, so it's a little bit more done up as an HTML was. Yeah, user friendly. Whereas Craigslist is really you have to keep your ads simple and can't bolded and stuff like that. But I think they changed that to, but you have to use HTML code. But nonetheless, it's the content. I'm not so worried about like how it's set up or anything.
Okay, so how would somebody find this ad? Would they search a certain section, or would they search a keyword, or both?
It sometimes shows up in Google under, you could search it, and then that link to that website. So Kijiji, say, it'll go directly to the classified site, sometimes to the general list of refinishing or to that specific ad, but most often it's people on your Craigslist Kijiji that are searching for hardwood floor services or floor refinishing would be the search term.
How often would refinishing be somewhere in that search, or some variation of the word refinishing?
Well, for our business, if somebody's looking for it, then it would, if it's specifically refinishing, it would be most of the time. Sometimes they can use different terms. I just know, like, going back, I don't have the numbers anymore. I just remember refinishing was the key word that I had to get in with hardwood and floor to get my ads to show up on a consistent basis in the search box on Kijiji's website. I'm sure it's changed over the years, but I haven't done any research in years on it. So,
well, all I'm really trying to establish, not trying to get too far down into the weeds on this, I just want to establish that the majority of the people that are searching know that they're looking for hardwood floor refinishing, and those are the words that they're using. In other words, as you look at restore the beauty of your floor, things like that, probably not as important, simply because they already know that they can restore the beauty of their floor, but that's what they're searching for, right?
Yeah, that's an old tagline going back. When I first started the business, it was with the floor refinishing versus installation. It seemed to be more of at least to me and some people calling, was an unknown phenomenon, but with the internet growing as it has over the years, most people are more knowledgeable about it. So at one time, I think at one time I think it made a difference, but I don't think now it makes. I don't think I need to put something like a headline like that in there anymore. Like trying to compare.
I mean, the reality is, people are looking for hardwood. They're on a classified site. I mean, this is worth thinking through. Why are they on a classified site? Now, you said a few people might come in through a Google search, but the majority are coming directly. They go to the classified site, then do their search. And I want you to think about why somebody would be on a classified site as opposed to more of a traditional Google type search. Why do you think?
Well, one, they're going to look for probably better deals, like cheaper pricing. That's so. And for some people, that's their method of finding trades. Say, like they say, if I need to find somebody, where do I look? Most people can look at Google, but some people prefer to use a specific site. And Kijiji just became very popular. It's one that I just started with back in the day when it wasn't when there wasn't much competition.
I agree with you. I'll give you my opinion, and you tell me what you think. I think people use classified sites precisely for the reason that you said. They're looking for a deal. They're looking for something cheap. That doesn't mean bad. I don't want that to sound like a pejorative, but they're looking for something cheap. And I'll be really, really hyper specific here. I think in their mind, they're thinking, I want to go straight to the guy who actually does it instead of dealing with some company who's going to be more expensive. In other words, maybe I can just find the guy that actually will do the work, deal directly with him, and get a better price. And in their mind, it's not so much, hey, it might be low quality, or who knows what I'm getting. It's simply, it's kind of the idea that instead of taking my car down to the dealership to get service, I'll just directly contact the mechanic and let the mechanic do it at whatever his rate is, right? It's sort of that thought process. Would you agree, or at least
I
agree with that?
Yeah, I completely agree. I've gone away, and that's one of the reasons why I'm working with you guys, and I've been doing other things over the years. I don't really use it that much to generate business, and most of the times I get leads from there, I don't take them so seriously because of that reason.
Well,
Mainly because I know they're looking at lower prices, but at the same time, I don't want to,
well,
it's an avenue, and it doesn't cost me.
You're missing my point, which is I'm not trying to render any type of judgment, good, bad, or otherwise. I'm simply trying to figure out when I place an ad, any ad, if I place it on the television, on the Super Bowl, on the local news, on the radio, on a billboard, in a magazine, in the mailer, I want to always understand who's going to be seeing it so that I can make sure that I understand who that person is so that I can cater what I'm saying to that person. So this exercise of saying, well, who's on these classifieds, it really has nothing to do with that's a good thing or a bad thing. It just has to do with I want to know who these people are so that I can say the right kinds of things. And it may very likely be different than the kinds of things I would say if the ad were appearing somewhere else. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I completely understood on that one.
And I'm sort of drawing on this classified ad situation from my own experience. And I've gone on to, in our case, we use Craigslist down here in Texas. And I've gone on to Craigslist for very specific types of things that I've needed. I've gone away from sort of the mainstream Google, find a company to do it. And it's usually been when I've been looking for guys that do things that are sort of unique and interesting, like a woodworking project. I was trying to build some stands for our washer and dryer. And I thought, I'll bet Craigslist has a guy that can do this. And I think people are going to Kijiji and whatnot with that idea. Now, that being said, it gives us the proper question to ask ourselves as we write an ad. Well, what do we say to somebody like that? And I think that one of the first things that we want to do is we want to make sure we communicate the following, okay? Now, I'm going to say what I think, and then you're going to tell me, hey, Rich, I think you're right, you're sort of right, or you're wrong, or wherever, okay? Because this is the question we always ask when we write ads. What do I want people to know? That's the major question. What do I want people to know? And it sounds almost like a stupid, obvious blanket type of question, but when you drill it down like I just talked about, and you say, okay, in this specific situation, we're writing a classified ad for this type of a person that we just described. What do I want them to know? And I'm just going to put a few bullet points on my page. I'm just literally writing notes by hand, so they're not going to appear on your screen. But here's the things I want them to know. We have good prices. We've got high quality. And something to the effect that we have, I'm going to use a word that's way over the head of these people, but it's the right word, just for our sakes. We've curated, or what would be a better word for that? We've selected and screened the best people. Now, that's not the ad. That's just what do we want them to know. We're going to find a better way to say it than that. And I think we want them to know immediately there's good prices. So in other words, they're on there looking for good prices. We want to be able to make sure that we communicate, hey, we do have good prices. But also, when people are on the classifieds, they also have the quality issue at the very close to the front of their mind. Okay, I want somebody that's cheap, but at the same time, I don't want to have somebody that's just, that sucks, right?
Yeah.
And in your case, based on what I know you do, you've screened the best people so that you can help them get the best service, et cetera, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. So let's review all of that versus what's on the screen here. Quick and inexpensive. That hits bullet point number one. Hardwood and by the way, hardwood refinishing I think needs to be in all of these so that people clearly know that what you're talking about. Renew your floor the inexpensive way. Probably overkill with the word renew there because it's baked into hardwood refinishing. Are your floors worn out? Probably not a good fit. Affordable, professional hardwood floor refinishing. The word professional may actually be a flag for some of these people. They may see that and go, no, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a guy that's not professional. I'm looking for a guy that will do this on the side or for cheaper, something like that. not saying for sure don't use the word professional, but it may throw a little red flag in a classified environment.
Okay. Actually, an idea just pops into my head because of the whole image thing, trying to be it more upscale and creating that image of like I guess that would portray more expensive. In an ad like this, one of the things that I could do is I work with all different types of guys, and we've gone through the summary, so we don't need to spend time on it. But I could also find guys who, not saying that they're poor quality, but can do it for a lower cost price or maybe a one-man show and are willing to negotiate and would take less money. So it's almost as if I'm finding them the guy that does good work, but at the same time does it less than the other guys I work with. So I know the prices that are lower, but not just lower, but for good quality at a low price type of thing. That might, I don't know if I want to expose myself that way, but what do you think about maybe advertising it from that perspective?
I've got a couple thoughts. Number one, I actually like what you just said. And I'm going to give you a couple of additional thoughts, not instead of, but just, and not even necessarily in addition to, but just some other thoughts. I'm going to tell you about the greatest Craigslist ad I ever saw. And for reasons unknown to me to this day, I did not save this ad. And I wish I would have saved this ad because it was great. I'm going to tell you about it. Here's what it was. I was looking for a guy to do some AV work in my house. Now, I don't know if you know much about AV work, TVs. I've got whole house audio. I had a bunch of things I needed some help with. If you go to any of the normal companies that do that kind of stuff, they are insanely expensive. I mean, they are insanely expensive. So I went on Craigslist. I found this guy that did the kind of stuff I was looking for. And as I scrolled down his ad, he had stuff on his ad that told what he did. I do these types of things, blah, blah, blah. But here was the magic of the ad and what made it the greatest ad I've ever seen. You could scroll down that ad, and he had a picture of him standing in a customer's house next to their TV that he'd worked on, and then he had a comment from that customer. Sometimes there was a picture of that customer. And if you scroll down, there was probably, I'm just guessing right now, at least 50 and maybe 100 photos of this guy standing in people's houses next to whatever it was that he had just done. It wasn't professional. It wasn't, impressive from a editing standpoint or anything like that. But you looked at it and you went, wow, this guy's really done a lot of stuff. He's not just some weirdo, and he wasn't particularly, handsome or good looking or anything. He was just some guy. Now, I'm not asking you to do that, but I want you to keep that in mind. I also want you to give you this idea, which is comparison of prices. So let's say that you've got one of these guys that you're talking about, okay? Here would be an interesting thing. Now, we're just talking for a minute, and then we'll bring it back to the end in just a second. It would be very interesting if you took that guy and you said, okay, here's a project. How much are you going to charge me? How much would you charge a customer to refinish this? And let's say that he says, I don't have any idea how much refinishing costs. $2,000, does that sound right for a job, or is that okay? Let's say it's $2,000. It'd be really interesting is to have a competitive quote from quote unquote a normal guy, normal company, and let's say it was 2,800, 3,000, 3,800, whatever. I don't know. You tell me. It'd be interesting for you to take, unlike the guy. So I'm doing sort of a hybrid of the two little stories I just told you, one about price comparisons, one about some dude that put a bunch of pictures of himself. What if you took and put about 10, let's use the number 10 price comparisons. And you might say to me, gosh, I don't know if I have those. Well, you know what? I'm going to give you permission to make them up, not because you're going to lie to people, but the made up ones would need to be based on reality, okay? They need to represent the truth, is what I'm saying to you. But what if you wrote an ad that said best prices on hardwood floor refinishing I'm making notes over here. And then we put something to the effect of how many words can we put in this? How about this? Hardwood floor refinishing Here's what I'm trying to say, something like this: 10 project price comparisons, something like that. And then we get into the ad and we say, hi, you know what I would do instead of going in there and saying, hey, you know, we're New Ridge and here's what we do. We've got different guys for different projects. I would probably present yourself as just a guy, whoever the guy or couple guys you pick are. And I'd say, hey, you know, my company is New Ridge Refinishing. Instead of going to the refinishing store or going to the hardwood store and paying their overhead and all their, you know, costs, we can do it essentially for the cost of the labor. And we found that it's, you know, our customers think that it's a really good deal. The quality is high. In fact, here's some comparisons. Here's a job that we did. We did this job for $1,600. They were quoted elsewhere at $2,200. Here's another job. Maybe you have a picture of it. And I'm acknowledging that you probably don't have this information, but you know what? Start to gather it. What if it takes you a couple months to do it? And then you've got this ad, because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. This ad is going to work like crazy. It's going to work like crazy because it's going to answer all the questions that everybody has. Think about a normal ad on a Craigslist, Kijiji, classified type situation. It usually says, hey, we're a company, we do, you know, I'm a guy or I'm a company, we do this service, in your case, hardwood floors, and then it lists a bunch of bullet points. You know, we can do refinishing or restaining or, you know, whatever the things are that are just kind of the standard stuff. And then it says to call. But here's the questions that people have when they're unclassified. Okay, what are your qualifications? What are your prices like? How good are you? And how can I know that you're any good? You know, and in Craigslist, it's kind of a joke down in the United States that you're going to get murdered when you call somebody from Craigslist, right? I don't know if you've heard those jokes.
Well, actually, it happened in Canada.
Three guys in the entire country get murdered from Craigslist, and now it's an epidemic, which isn't really true. But people do have that concern. So here's what I'm trying to say. Hey, I'm a professional floor refinisher. Used to work for some of the biggest companies in the area. The prices that they would charge were usually, you know, 2 to 3 times higher than what I charge to do it without affiliation with that company. In fact, I'm the same guy that would come out to your house to do it, but now instead of having to pay them and then they pay me, you can just pay me. See, what a great little story. And a guy goes, wow, that's exactly what I was looking for. And did you notice what some of the important confidence building words were in there? I used to work for these companies. I was the guy on the ground doing the job. But instead of paying them and all the money they've got to make, you can just pay me directly. I'll come out and do it. Let me give you some examples. Here's a job that I did in, name the town. I don't know the names of the towns up there, but here's one that I did in XYZ town for $1,600 that would have been $3,800 to $4,000 at my old company. Or here's a quote for $3,800 from another company. Here's a job I did for $2,200. This would have easily been a $1,700 job, or whatever, higher, not lower. Here's a job that I did for just $1,000. You sort of give them the range, right? You know, maybe $1,000 is the lowest, maybe $3,000 is the highest that you're going to get from this kind of business. So keep all the examples in there. Put some pictures in there if you can. And I think this is an ad that would hit home runs for you. Home runs. The only question would be, are there actually people on there looking for this kind of thing? Which I'm guessing there is. How about this for a title? Former hardwood floor refinishing, former employee of major, you know, flooring store. Direct pricing. I'd click on that all day long. So if I was looking for AV stuff and a guy said on his headline, all AV services, former employee of local Star Power store, direct pricing, man, I'd click that in a heartbeat. And then the guy goes on there and says, hey, I used to work for Star Power, which is one of the biggest retailers of AV stuff around here and services like that. I worked for them from 2005 to 2011. I've installed everything. I've troubleshot and fixed anything you can imagine, from big screens to audio systems to this or that, the other, whatever things people buy. And always had great reviews. Customers love my work. Problem is, it's just darn expensive. You know that. Call Star Power. Ask them. In 2012, I left and started my own service business. Now you can pay me direct. You can get the exact same service you would get if you called Star Power, but instead of paying them 2 to 3 times to cover their overhead and advertising, you just come to me directly on Craigslist. I'll come out and do the job. I still charge the same rates that I got paid from Star Power. Whatever the details are. Do you see how powerful that is? Now, in your case, Scott, think about 2 or 3 of the guys that you have that would be willing to do it on the lower end of the spectrum, price-wise, and find out what their backstory is. And maybe you keep it a little more general. Maybe you don't say I worked at Star Power. Maybe you say I worked for one of the major retailers, right? Or I worked for a flooring store here in Toronto. I was a lead installer. I had 4 guys working for me. Is there value in that, you think?
Yeah, that actually might actually work out well, because it hits home on again, I'm not trying to be opinionated, but I find over the years with the Craigslist type of classified sites, people, even though they want quality and assurance, price is the #1 driver in my estimation. So to get over that, I guess you'd say, hill, you would sort of give them the assurance of quality and that respected business, but at the same time say, but I'm also giving you something of value as well. Maybe not the cheapest, but it's not going to be the most expensive out there when you go to XYZ company or something like that. So it may give them that impression. Maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but that's sort of how I look at it.
Well, all I'm trying to do is this. I'm trying to look at the guy who's on that classified site looking, and I'm trying to figure out what is it he wants, and then I'm going to give it to him. I don't want to lie and tell him I can give him something that I can't deliver on. But assuming you've got a guy that used to work for something where he was on a crew, I mean, I'm assuming these guys didn't just get born and start refinishing floors. They probably worked somewhere for a while.
Right.
No?
Yeah. A lot of them worked. Some work for big companies, but a lot of them in our industry, there's not like any big brand name company. You don't work for, let's say, like a Home Depot.
It doesn't matter though. It doesn't matter though, because see, what are the options for getting your hardwood floor stained? You call a company that does it. You go to the hardwood the flooring store, and you say, hey, I need this. You know what? I got hardwood floors right here in my home, just installed last week. I was thinking about you when I got them put in. And you know who installed them? As far as I know, okay, as a homeowner, it was the flooring store. Now, I know, because I'm in this industry as a marketing guy, I know that they hire these guys out and they're subcontractors, and I could have easily gotten them from Craigslist, right?
Exactly, yeah.
But the problem is I don't know how to find them, and that's what you're solving. So I think that if you go out there into a classified ad environment and you use a story similar to the one that we just went through, I think it's going to work for you really well. And you'll have to manage the details, and you know, the scenario that I gave you probably isn't exactly the right scenario, but it's a template for how to do it.
Yeah, it definitely is a start to get to like rework the old ads into like a newer ad.
Well, if you can make it a little more personal too than a lot of the ads. A lot of the ads are, you know, we do this, and they've got a bullet point here, and they got a list of stuff they do, and you know, call me if you want to talk about it. I think giving it a little bit of backstory. Here's who I am. Here's how I, gain my expertise. Here's what I do. Here's what my pricing is. I think people read that, just a couple, 3 or 4 sentences, and they go, okay, this is a real person with real experience that can really help me with this. And it's a plausible reason why he's on Craigslist or Kijiji offering me this service for a low price. Boom, I'm calling this guy. Usually you don't have any idea who you're calling. You just know what stuff they do, but you know who they are, what their background is, how good they are. It's a complete mystery because they make it a mystery by not telling you.
Right, but do you think if they actually, when they, let's say, end up driving them to your website, or even if they can contact you directly, or I have a link to my website, or they search me up and they find my website, that they'll see maybe like not contradictory information of what I do, but contradictory information of
Don't
like
give
how
them
we
a
portray
website.
ourselves.
Don't give them a website. Just have them call you. Here's my phone number.
Okay.
Just give them a phone number. Here, call this number. Make sure somebody answers the phone. Now, it's critical. Look, I know how your business operates, and I know that what we're talking about here is a little bit, it's kind of like taking a side road on your business. So you need to make sure that the story that you're telling in the ad is congruent with what you're going to tell them when they call on the phone. But those are details that you can easily work out. They really are. Go on there and say, hey, how about this? We found 10 of the people that have been in this industry for at least 5 to 10 years each that know how to do this stuff, and we'll find out what your project is and send the right guy over. It's going to be a lot cheaper than going through the stores. Here's what they got to hear: it's going to be cheaper than going through a hardwood store. It's going to be cheaper than going through a retailer. That's what they need to hear. That's the issue. Make sure they hear that. Because that's what people on the classified site want to hear. That's really all we have time for. I've got some other folks waiting to review their ads, so hopefully that's helpful to you, Scott.
Yeah, it definitely is helpful. Just one last question. I know you got to go. Is in regards to getting the notes or the information of like the template, is there any way of like getting a snapshot of like the notes so I can like use that when writing the ad?
What note are you talking about?
Oh, like the notes that you've been making of like how like configuring how the ad should be written and whatnot. Like, is there any way of like getting some of those notes sent to me so I can use that as a template and guideline when I recreate the ad?
The only reason I'm hesitating is because I'm looking at my page. It's just like this jumbled mess. But let me type something up and I'll send it over to you based on these notes.
All right, perfect. I appreciate that.
Okay. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate you being on the call today.
Thanks.
All righty. Let's move on to, let's see who's next. John with Blind Ambition. Let me see if I can find you on here. John, I am not seeing. Okay, that's all right. Let's go over here to Ann. Ann, I see you on here. I'm going to unmute you. Ann, can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yes.
Don. Let's see here. Your stuff came to me from a different route, so I'm going to have to pull that up out of my email. Okay, these should be revamped versions of the ads that we talked about before. Is that right?
Right.
Okay, increase curb appeal and home value and save 30% on energy bills with new windows. Hey, that sounds familiar. Factory direct, save $100 to $200 per window. And if I flip this thing over on the back, why you should buy factory direct windows. Save $100 to $200 per window for real. One-stop shopping, no middleman. Lifetime limited warranty, no hassle. Why window place? Not crazy about that font, but it's a minor detail, but probably change it anyway. Okay. Top 100 window manufacturer made right here in Chicago. Best warranties, factory trained installers. We manufacture 50,000 windows a year, most to wholesales. That's poor English there. You need to get your resident native speaking English speaker on that one, okay? But we do sell a limited part of our production to homeowners. I put the word direct after the word homeowners. Our prices are $100, $200 less per window due to the retail markup. Yeah, I mean, it's very simple. It's not, you know, super complex or tricky or anything like that, but it says what you want to say. So yeah, I like this. This is really according to what we talked about last time, and you've executed it pretty good.
Okay. So we'll try
I mean,
that. See how it goes.
Yeah, I really don't have a lot to add to it. It's just looking at what we did before. So that's pretty good. I would change that font. It's a little crazy there on wide window place, and do make sure that you clean up the English on that stuff at the bottom.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, is there anything else, or is just want a quick?
Yeah, I just wanted to look. Want you to take a look at the new version and see. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
I like it.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ann. That was quick. Okay, let's move on to Lawrence. All right, Lawrence, I've got you on here twice somehow, so I'm going to just see if I can figure out which one of these is actually you. All right, Lawrence, can you say something so I can see if I can hear you? That did not work. All right, try again, Lawrence. All right, Lawrence, I've got you unmuted on two different iterations on my console here, but I can't hear you. I do show that you're on a microphone as opposed to a phone, so that is not always reliable. Okay, go ahead and just give me a call, and I'll wait for you here for a second. Not a problem. Now, meanwhile, let me see if our other gentleman showed back up. Let's see, right, where is that? There it is. John Seidel with Blind Ambitions. Let me see if I can find that one. No, that's not Ray. All right, well, I'll just wait for Lawrence to dial in. It should just take a second here. Let's see, we got any good marketing stuff going on today? Got a new newsletter article coming out today about the importance of following up your leads even when they seem to be non-responsive, and what I call the law of 9,344, which simply means that people generally have about 9,344 things going on in their lives, from the extremely important to the mind-numbingly mundane, and selling stuff to them buying your stuff falls somewhere on that list of 9,344 things, and it may not always take top priority. So a lot of times when you think that people are uninterested because they will not take your phone call, it actually is not a matter of interest or lack thereof. It's just a matter of them carving out the attention and the time to talk to you, and sometimes it takes a couple of tries. All right, Lawrence. Lawrence, I still don't have you on here. All right, well, I'm going to give you, Lawrence, about 30 seconds, and we're going to have to take this up some other way, some other time. Let me see what you've sent me. I'll get that up on the screen while I'm waiting. Let's see here. Okay, Lawrence, I see you say you're on. Let me see if I can see on my list here. I don't see you on the phone on my console. Yeah, Lawrence, unfortunately, you're not showing up in my console. I still see you as a microphoner. Let me see what's going on over here. Okay. All right, Lawrence, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try something here. I'm going to disconnect you. Yes. I'm going to dismiss you again. All right. All right, well, let's take a look at what you've sent me, and I'll make some comments regarding it. You should have known better. Snakes on a roof. Okay, so this is part of your ongoing campaign to have movie posters that relate to roofing, which, by the way, I thought before when we talked about this, and still think this is pretty funny is not really the right word. It is funny, but I think it's just interesting, something that people would look at and say, okay, that's worth looking at. Why don't you just do you have any specific questions? Because I do have you on the chat box here. Do you have any specific questions or comments that you'd like to ask about this particular thing? Oh, wait. Let's see if I can get you on here now. All right, now, Lawrence, can I talk to you now? No. See, I show you're coming up on microphone still instead of on the phone. So anyway, Lawrence, I've got John coming on here in just a second. He's our last participant today. Why don't you type in, ask me any questions you may have, and we'll go from there. Okay, now, Lawrence, I see you on a phone. All I need you to do now is type in your audio pin, which is #51#. There, now I've got you. Now I've got you.
How you doing today, Rich?
Good, good, good. Good to talk to you. So
okay,
we've got the snakes on a plane here.
Right, and you hit that right on the head. We're continuing this movie poster thing. Rudy wants to do a movie poster per month. We're supposed to be doing more current posters, and we have the strategy that we're bringing the celebrity status to us by associating ourselves with this mainstream product or whatnot. So we're picking up with Snakes on a Plane. It's a much older movie, in my opinion. It's not current, but right now our trend has said that we haven't changed any artwork on the posters. We only changed the text and the typography. So my question would be, as far as the copy goes, what direction would we actually take with the copy? And I'm really interested in hearing your point of view on where these monthly movie posters, where they should fall in our priority list, and how they what kind of value do you think we're going to get out of them?
All right, so here's my question. I think what I heard you just say is that this movie poster is exactly the same as the original, with the exception of the text. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. What about at the top where it says "You should have known better"? Was that also from the original poster?
No, that actually said "Fear comes crawling." But as of this morning, we actually have discovered that this is a fan-made poster and not the original poster, which brings up additional questions about the future of us doing monthly movie posters. Because this
what is
the
the question?
And well, it's the internet, and it's just a matter of like what kind of style, what kind of design or style guide do we want to continue with? Because now we put these hours into doing this little simple poster here, and it's a fan-made poster. So now we're going to have to go back and do one of the regular snakes on a plane. And obviously, this task takes away from other tasks that some might deem more important or more critical, like lead acquisition, lead generating, other decisions that need to be made, etc.
Well, so let me ask you this. Putting all of that aside for just a second, what is your intention to do with these posters? Are you going to actually print them and mail them to people? Are you just going to email a PDF? What are you going to do?
We are going to put them up on the website as freebie downloads. We are potentially going to print out a bulk number of them and put them on our marketing wall for our salespeople to grab on their way out. So they might be going to a meeting and choose to grab some marketing material. Mind you, I understand that out of all the marketing pieces, why grab this? But we have other certain clients that, we might have indoctrinated them with service stuff, and now we want to take over something fun or something to show them, like, hey, we have a fun, progressive office. We do cool stuff, that type of deal. So that's where this poster would mainly be used for.
Okay, I think that all of those things are not going to be all that particularly effective. I'm going to tell you what would be effective more than anything else. And you may not be able to do this, or you may not want to do this, or it just may not work. But, I have this philosophy that says, let's start with what's ideal, and then let's, see what we can actually execute against that ideal. And maybe we can't execute the ideal. But here's what I would do if I could do anything I wanted. I would get a high-resolution version of these posters. I would change them to, say, snakes on a roof or whatever the poster was. I would print them out, and I would mail them in a tube to the people you wanted to see them. That's what I would do. That's going to have your biggest impact. If you send these things electronically, here's what's going to happen. People are going to look at them at best, briefly, at best, get a small little momentary chuckle out of it, and then they're going to move on with their day and their life. And it's going to have a very minimal impact.
Okay.
It's going to have a very minimal
totally
impact.
Agree.
And in that scenario, I would say, yeah, there's other things you could do that are more worthwhile. Now, here's the problems with printing these out and sending them to people. The biggest problem I see is getting high enough resolution artwork to actually print them. I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't necessarily think that you can find movie posters at high resolution laying around on the internet.
Right.
Now, how do you deal with that? I don't know. Because the other challenges with printing and mailing these are really fairly easy to overcome. There's a time and a cost component of it. And, let's say you wanted to send these to 100 prospects a month or something. Well, that's going to cost you some money, but it's not, it's not that big of a deal. You guys have a pretty big company. You've got some budget. That's probably doable. I think the impact would be really good. I don't think most of your people would actually hang the posters up. Some probably would, and that's good. The majority would probably laugh at it, not like, hey, these guys are idiots laughing at you, but they would laugh and think it's funny, and they'd probably either let it lay around the office somewhere, or they'd throw it in the trash. But the impact of getting that tube and unrolling that poster and sort of that anticipation of the second and third and fourth one, right?
Right.
Would be, I think, worthwhile. So your biggest challenge here really is just, can I actually get high enough resolution artwork that I can print? Now, there's another challenge, which is the legality of it from a copyright standpoint. And, I don't have legal advice for you on that.
Right. Okay, sounds good.
I do think you're on the right track, though, to go for a more current type of a movie.
Right. And something we could actually tie into other things, have you seen our comic book?
Yes.
Oh, well, I think the comic book's pretty cool, and I think that there's going to come a time when we might be able to invest in that particular set of characters and that whole little architecture. But this is great moving forward, and I do appreciate the insight.
Yeah, I think if you can overcome that obstacle of the resolution of the artwork, I don't think this is very much time, effort, or hassle, and really not that much expense to pop these out the door to 50 or 100 or a couple hundred people a month.
Gotcha.
And you know what?
Yeah.
I have a feeling that here's what would end up happening. Let's say you sent out one a month to a couple hundred people, 200 people, just for conversation. I think that first month that a large majority would look at it, think it's kind of funny, and they'd either trash it or set it aside, and they wouldn't think about it much anymore. When that second one came, during the first one, a small percentage would probably take that thing and hang it up somewhere because, they've got random wall space or a bulletin board or something, and they thought it was funny enough. They don't get stuff like this ever, so they would hang it up. But I bet as the month 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kind of progressed, I think you'd see more and more people actually taking and hanging these things up. And they wouldn't necessarily look forward to the next month, but when that tube came in the mail, they'd go, "Oh, hey, this is from that roofing company. I wonder what it is this month." They'd pull it out, they'd look at it, etc. So
right.
I kind of like this kind of stuff. To me, it's all about just getting noticed and making people stop down for a minute and recognize, oh, here's this company, and just keeping in their face on a consistent basis. And this is a fun way to do it that allows them to, pay attention. I think if you did this for let's say 2 years straight, I think by the time that 20 or 25th poster came out, I think very few people would just toss that tube without looking at it. I think the majority would open it up, roll that thing out, and go, "Oh yeah, this is kind of funny."
Gotcha.
And I have a feeling when you showed up in people's offices, you'd see a fair amount of these sitting around on people's walls.
You're right. Okay.
Yeah, so I think these are way easier to execute than comic books. Comic books, you got to come up with storylines.
Right.
So,
Gotcha. All right. Appreciate it, man.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll just keep pushing forward. You guys have got some stuff in your court to be reviewing, and I'll get with Rudy on that. But let's keep rolling. Thanks, Lawrence. Appreciate you being on.
Sounds good. Have a great day, you guys.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. We'll see you, Lawrence. All right. And now I see John has shown up. So let me unmute you. John, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
How you doing?
Great. How are you?
This is Rich.
Yeah. Nice to talk to you, Rich.
Yeah. Let me pull up on the screen your stuff. I think whoops, that's the wrong stuff. Okay. Blind Ambitions, right?
Yes.
All right. So I've just pulled this up on my screen. This is just from your email. I'm in the window covering business. I have a client who wants me to trade him window coverings for some time on a digital billboard. Message will be up for 12 seconds before it rotates. Traffic will be driving by, but during rush hour may be backed up. They may have time to read the whole 12 seconds, but most just glance. Any ideas of a message, or should I just put the company name and website? Well, here's the first question. How big is the billboard?
Yeah, I don't know the exact dimensions, but it's a good size in terms of a billboard, like a normal billboard size, so whatever that is.
Okay, normal billboards, like the standard size, is 10 by 40.
Yeah, it's probably
They're
a little
not
less
always
than that. I don't think it's
yeah,
40.
Yeah, 40 is, that's the big typical one you see as you're cruising down the highway, is a 10 by 40. So
I think it's a little bit smaller than that.
Now, the reason it matters is because it tells us how much space we have to deal with, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, John, I'm not that familiar with your company, so here's what I want to know. I just want to dip a little bit of a toe into your identity, and I want you to tell me what it is that you do that makes you different and better and good and all that kind of stuff. Why do people buy stuff from you?
All right, so we're and I'm working with your web design people right now on this, but The area that we're promoting is our expertise because we're competing a lot with the box stores and so on, and our attention to detail. So we're very particular when we put something up. Sometimes it's good enough for the client, but we don't see it as good enough for us and good enough for what we do. So we go back and make sure it's fixed up till it's perfect.
Okay, so you compete frequently against box stores, is that right?
Yeah, we're competing. We seem to be competing more and more against the Costco's and the Home Depots, whose prices are much lower than ours.
And about how much lower are they than you?
Well, we just lost a deal yesterday on probably about a $3,500 quote, and we were probably $700 higher.
So you were 35 and they were probably 28, or they were 35
like
and
yeah.
you were 42?
Yeah. We would have been 35 and they were 28.
Okay, and what you're telling me, based on what I've heard so far, is you guys do a better job.
Well, we think we do.
And if I'm a homeowner and you do a better job and I pay you $700 more, how is that going to manifest itself? I'm going to have a better blinds in what regard?
Well, this is the problem. Costco is selling the Hunter Douglas blinds that we sell as well. So they're now selling the exact same thing. So I've got two choices. I could lower my prices, but I can't survive on 25% margins, so I'll eventually fade out of business. Or I can try to still charge more and provide extra service, or I've got access to other suppliers besides Hunter Douglas that cost less, and I can make decent margins and still charge less, which is probably the route. As of yesterday, I'm thinking I might have to go.
So you can come out at about the same price, is that correct?
Well, if I come up at the same price with Hunter Douglas, I'm not making enough money to keep on going.
No.
To go forward.
If you switch to a different brand,
if I switch to a different brand, I can make more money and charge less, basically. It's not quite as
is the
good
quality okay?
It's okay, yeah. It's not perfect. But,
okay.
And it's not the...
That's what I would do.
Yeah, well, that's what I kind of made that decision late last night is what I'm going to have to do. Because I'm just...
Well, it's called the reality of business, right?
Yeah.
So if you're selling the exact same product as Costco, it's really, really hard to justify in somebody's mind to pay you more. And here's the biggest problem with that. It's that it's Costco, and people like Costco. They have confidence in Costco. Costco has cheap stuff, but I don't think people would say, well, their stuff is cheap and it sucks, but that's okay. I think people look at Costco and go, no, I get good stuff for cheap prices.
And it is. It's Hunter Douglas. It's the best window coverings on the market, basically.
Right. My point being, it's going to be hard for you to say, well, we do these things over here that make it worth more money. I think they're going to look at you and go, yeah, but it's Costco. Don't they? They do it right too, don't they?
Yeah.
So that's a difficult thing to sell. So here's the thing you got going for you. What's the brand that you're thinking about selling?
Oh, maybe Graber or Springs, it's called, or Graber.
Graber or Springs?
Yeah, Springs is the company. I guess Graber is kind of the series or brand name, but the mother company is called Springs Window Fashions.
And visually
that's
speaking,
what budget blinds sell. So we
just looking at the blinds, okay? If I just look at the blinds as a consumer, are they going to look pretty much the same as the Hunter Douglas, or are they going to look different somehow?
Pretty much the same, and except you won't have quite as much color selection to choose from. But most people don't buy the specialty colors, anyways. Okay.
Well, here's something you've got going for you. I think in this space is I don't think most people know the difference between a Graber or a Hunter Douglas. I mean, when I think of Hunter Douglas, I've heard of it, but isn't that it's a ceiling fan? I think.
Okay, well, you're right.
If you're telling me Hunter Douglas has blinds, my reaction to you as a consumer is to sort of shrug my shoulders and go, Okay, you know what? Okay, who cares? Whatever. I don't. How would I know or care? So
well, they do some advertising, so a lot of people are familiar with the brand name, and
yeah.
it's known as kind of the top of the line type of name, right? And
So here's my question: if you said that you're $700 more, at least in one case yesterday, for the Hunter Douglas. If you were to quote that same job out, you quoted $3,500 for Hunter Douglas. What would you have to charge for Graber?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I've got somebody who's supposed to be looking that up for me right now. But
give me your best guess.
I could. That particular product from yesterday, Graber doesn't make that product, but somebody else does. I'm supposing I could make more money on it and charge, $3,200 on it.
$3,200. So
I could save them. Sorry,
10%.
no. Sorry. No, let me change it. I meant to be a little bit lower than Costco. So if we were at 28, so I'd be about 2,500. I'd be making
so anyway,
40 or 50 points instead of 25 points at 3,500.
Okay, so you're going to be
2,800, I should say.
Okay. So here's what I would do on the billboard. I wouldn't just put your name because people are going to look at that and go, okay, great, it's a company. But why not put this on there? This is what you do. It's 10% less, right?
Mm-hmm.
High quality blinds.
Mm-hmm.
Expert installation. 10% less than big box stores.
Okay.
Now, you might be a little concerned about that and say, well, I don't know if it's exactly 10% less. Maybe I'm the same on some jobs, or maybe I'm only 5% less on some jobs. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
High quality blinds, expert installation, 10% less than big box stores. Blind Ambitions. What's your web address?
I'm sorry, what was the last part?
What's your web address?
Web address,
okay. Blindambitions.com?
Now, I'm in the middle of having you guys redo my website, and we're getting in the late stages. And right now, my website is going to say what has been shown to me is, oh, sure, we're not the cheapest in town, but why would you want to buy from the big box stores? Because we can do we're so much better because we do this. And after just, again, the last couple of days has made me think that I don't know that I can compete in that high-end market, and that, so I might want to do a huge about face now and start going for the lower end of the market and selling a lower end product. All this time I've been pushing the higher end product to make more money.
Let me be real clear with you on something. I'd like for you to reposition what you just said in your own mind. You don't have to go after the low end of the market, okay? That's not what we're doing here. We're not going after the low end of the market. We're going after the market, okay?
Yeah.
If you're consistently running up against guys, we can't automatically assume, well, if somebody goes to a big box or Costco, then that's the low end of the market. That's not true.
No, because if they go to Costco, the only ones they sell are the high-end blinds.
Yeah. People don't say, well, I want cheap blinds, so I'm going to go to Costco. If I wanted higher-end blinds, I'd go to, Saks Fifth Avenue. That's not how they think.
Yeah.
They just go to those places because that's the only place they know to go. They see it as they're walking out, and you got tires here, and you've got gutter protection here, and you've got carpet here, and there's all these little stands as you walk out of Costco. I know Costco, right? And then you see one here that's for blinds. And so I don't think you need to position yourself in your own mind as we're going after the low end of the market. I think what you're doing is you're giving yourself a selling advantage. I love selling stuff for cheaper than the competition if it's actually possible to do it at, at a good quality. Okay.
Yeah.
And that sounds like what you're talking about here.
Well,
so you come in there and say, look what we said: high quality blinds,
yeah.
expert installation. What part of that is low end of the market?
Yeah. Okay.
10% less than big box. So, I think a lot of your message does not have to change necessarily, but probably the main hammer of your message needs to change a little bit if you indeed go that route.
Okay. Now here's the other, just to throw another wrench in it. Costco is selling the 100 Douglas blinds, so it's not hard to undercut them. But then Home Depot, which is another big box, they don't sell 100 Douglas, but they do sell these other brands that I'm selling. And then they sell those at a low-end price. So now, if I'm competing against Costco, I'm okay because I can pull out a lower-priced brand, but I don't know how to compete against the big box stores with the lower-priced brands.
So where are they going to be apples to apples against you?
I'd probably be able to make about 30 points if I match the big box store price, like the Home Depot price. But it's hard to survive when I've got a showroom and rent and staff and so on to pay at 30%.
Tell me about your showroom.
I got a showroom inside a carpet store. It's one of the bigger carpet stores in town. And I lease space off of them, so right inside in the middle of their showroom is my showroom. And then I got a little warehouse space in the back. And actually most of my work coming right now is coming from commercial work. So new construction, that I got a guy that working that angle. So we're doing fine there. It's just the retail, the residential market, we're not doing very well in.
So how much selection do you have in your showroom that people can look at?
Well, we've got 3 towers of blinds and shutter displays. We got a few windows with some blinds and shutter displays, and then we got books of samples from 3 or 4 different suppliers.
Okay, so I don't know how to quantify 3 towers of displays. How many different types of blinds is that I can look at?
They could look at about 10 or 12 different kinds of blinds, 10 different kinds of blinds, I guess.
And what can they look at Costco?
I don't know. I've been inside of Costco in years, so I don't know that they have any. I'm not sure.
I'll bet they have something. They usually have this little kiosk there.
Yeah. So they might have a tower.
What about Home Depot?
Yeah, they got a bunch. And they got a bunch of different manufacturers and stuff there too.
Well, that does make it a little more interesting. Let's take a look at this. Highest quality blinds, expert installation. How about unlimited selection?
Okay.
See, I think you can pull this off without really having to rework your whole identity, because it's not going to change that you have attention to detail, right? Just because you're installing a Graber versus a 100 Douglas, right?
Yep.
So that stuff all stays the same.
Okay.
What you may want to do is come in there and have some sort of a discussion of pricing. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe you just, I'm trying to think through this, because you told me this story about losing this deal to Costco yesterday, right? 100 Douglas?
Yeah.
Was it 100 Douglas or was it something else you lost yesterday?
It was 100 Douglas.
So, that sounds a little bit like a sales issue to me. So how did that happen? You go in there and you're in their home, or they come to your showroom, or what?
Yeah, no, I think I didn't deal directly with the client, but I think what it was somebody we'd done some commercial work for them, and then they had a house they wanted done. So our commercial guy sent out our residential, who's our kind of decorator / salesperson. So she went out, and Costco had already been there, and so she priced it out because they knew what they wanted or helped. She gave them better advice. They liked her advice. They liked the fact that she got the quote back to them quickly. She did a whole bunch of things better than Costco, but Costco was lower than us, and so they're going with Costco. And they didn't like at all the service they got from Costco, but it didn't matter.
Well, that you got the quote back faster ultimately doesn't matter. Do you know why?
Why?
Because they're not making the decision until they get all the quotes back.
Yeah. No, but just that they had to phone Costco and bug them and say, "Where's our quote?" and so on. And
yeah, I understand.
They got ignored for a while, and they weren't very happy with them, but it did matter, right?
Yeah. Well, I would probably just press forward with that identity. You're going to compete against, it sounds like, lots of different price points in different situations. Mm-hmm. And, you're going to win some and lose some, but you're going to have a better chance with that stronger identity.
Okay.
Here's the reality. One of my biggest clients is a heating and air conditioning company on the East Coast, and they sell new heating and air conditioning systems for about double what you can get it from their competitors, about double. Mm-hmm. And if you look just at the equipment itself, the piece of equipment that comes from Trane or Lennox or whatever it is, it's the exact same equipment. It's not different at all. It's the same model, but they're charging double for it. You say, well, how can they get double for it? And the answer is, well, there's a lot more that goes into this than simply the piece of equipment. There's the expertise and there's the service and all the things that you're talking about. And the reality is, at some point, you've just got to run hard in a direction and stick to those guns, right? Mm-hmm. And you've got to understand that you're going to lose deals from people that just don't care.
Yeah. It's just that seems to have changed over the course of the last few years, whereby, especially even the last year, where we're just losing more and more.
So let me ask you this. What's your typical deal? You said this one was $3,500. Is that pretty common, or is that on the high end or the low end?
That's towards the high, but it varies, right? So one house might be $10,000, another one might be $2,000. Somebody might come in. Somebody just bought 4 blinds for their sunroom for $500 yesterday, and so on. Right? So it's kind of all.
But typically, obviously, it's going to vary. But what's typical?
A couple thousand bucks.
Is 3,000 pretty common for you?
I'd say closer to 2, but 3,000 is fairly common. But 2.
Do you offer financing?
No.
You may want to look really hard at that.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you know the statistics on that?
No, I don't.
I wrote a blog posting on this last Thursday. You can go to my website and just go to the blog, scroll down probably 2 blogs, and you'll see it's on the homepage. And it says your customers are begging you for financing. Now, it's easy to look at that and go, well, $2,000-$3,000. That's not a big deal. People can just pay for it. And here's my comment to you on that. $2,000 or $3,000 is a lot of money for most people, even people that make a lot of money. Now, not everybody. Clearly, there's an echelon of consumers where writing a check for $2,700, they don't blink or think about it. But there's this bigger group of people that are called people with homes, people with families, people with car payments, people with jobs. And when you start talking about $2,000, $3,000, here's what's interesting. If you sat down with a prospect and you said, hey, Mr. Johnson, let me ask you a question as we, start talking about your blinds. Did you have a monthly amount budgeted for a monthly payment for your blinds that you feel would fit into your budget? Now, a lot of people might hear that question and they weren't even thinking about financing. They were thinking about just paying for it.
Most of them put it on the Visa card, which is 20% if they don't pay it off.
Well, so hear me out. Here's what happens when you ask them that question. They're either going to say, oh, no, I was just going to pay for it with my Visa card. Or they might say, oh, I hadn't really thought about that. I was just going to, write a check. Or they might say, well, in their mind, they're thinking, I hadn't considered that there's a payment program. And you say to them something like, yeah, we've got 12 months same as cash. I don't know if you've ever thought about something like that, but if you pay it in 12 months, you can spread out the payments and there's no finance charge. Now, we've got some other programs where you can pay for it over a longer amount of time, say 2 or 3 years, and there is a little bit of a finance charge on that. But let me ask you this, Mr. Johnson. How much would be a workable number for your budget on a monthly basis? And at that point, if they just insist, hey, I just want to pay for it, buddy, quit asking me questions. You look at them and you say, great. But here's the interesting thing about the statistics. The statistics are very, very clear. And these are not made up statistics that are from some guy just thinking an opinion. These are based on GE Finance and their actual numbers from their actual customers. It shows that when you offer 12 months same as cash financing, you actually have a higher sale amount than if you ask just for cash or payment or credit card. And if you offer longer term financing, that the amount goes up even more. And you can see those numbers. I'm not looking at it on my website right now, but you can go look that up. It was just posted last week. And here's the point. If you can get people's brain looking at the amount financed per month, which in your case could be anywhere from maybe $49 a month to maybe $300 a month, right? Depending on the type of program and how long. Now, it costs you money to use the financing programs, and you probably understand and are aware of that. It's usually somewhere in the neighborhood of about 6%. So on a $3,000 deal, that's $180. But number one, if it raises your closing ratio, number two, if it raises your sale amount, and see, here's what happens now. When you go to somebody and you say, look, we've got
paying Visa 2% as it is if they pay me up front.
Yeah, so you go in and say, look, I've got a couple of different options for you. I've got good, better, and best, or however you want to present that. You say, look, we've got this Hunter Douglas. It comes with our full guaranteed install, our experts, all the great things that we do, service, blah, 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 whatever's on your website and in your identity. I don't know what it is, but you do, so you could talk about that, obviously. Mm-hmm. Or we've got this product, which is a good product. It's our Graber product, and it's going to save you usually somewhere in the neighborhood of about 30% compared to the Hunter Douglas. And we've got these other ones at these price points, whatever. People are going to start pushing themselves to the higher price points. And you'll see in situations where people say, well, we were only going to do these, 8 windows, but now since we have this option to finance, we'll do, all 15 windows type of thing.
Yeah.
Just something to think about and look into. I'm not trying to really change anything you do. I think your identity is good based on what I've heard. I think your billboard could still say high quality blinds, expert installation, unlimited selections, blindambitions.com. Something like that. You may say 10% less than big box stores to get people to call and take a look. Mm-hmm. But I think you're in a situation where you're going to continually come up against these big box type competitors. And I think that that's an option that may help you overcome that in some situations.
Okay. Great.
So think about that. We've got some contacts that we can give you for financing. I suggest it to all of my customers, even the ones that say, oh, we've been in business for 30 years and we've never offered that because our customers don't want it. I just look at them and say, you're crazy. You're missing deals. The guys that don't want to use it don't have to use it still, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, just something to think about. That's really what I have for you.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.